What's up, everybody? Matt Gajewski here, back again talking college basketball. And today we are talking about the Saturday, January the 24th mega Saturday slate. If you like this content, please consider subscribing to the channel or leaving a like on the video. We're small, trying to grow and continue doing this in the future. So both of those things help us a lot. If you've done that, thank you. It really does mean a lot and help us a lot. We do talk about sides and totals as we break down these games. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. But let's dive right in. Oh, one last thing. If you ever have requests, please leave them in the comments. Day in advance would help a lot so I have time to prepare the games, but always willing to talk about games you want to hear about first and foremost. So there we go. All right. Game of the day. Houston is rematching Texas Tech. This game is going to be in Lubbock. What an awesome game we have here. Houston's favored by 1 on the road. The total is 141. It's a very difficult game to break down because both these teams are awesome and have a lot of strengths. Injury-wise, Texas Tech's Luke Bamboy has been out for a while. That's nothing new. But first thing to talk about here is the rematch factor. These teams played on January 6th. Houston was at home. They won 69-65. And funny enough, Texas Tech actually had a better shooting percentage. But the thing was, they lost almost every peripheral battle. Houston shot 22 free throws to Texas Tech's 11, so doubled them up there. Both teams were pretty good from the line. Rebounds favored Houston just slightly. It was 36-35, but turnovers, Texas Tech had 14. Houston had 6. Fouls, 19-15. And then Houston still won this game while shooting 24% from 3. So the first thing that comes to mind is, what would this look like if they had a good shooting performance? Overall, the body of work is awesome for both of these teams. Houston comes in number 4 in the country. Currently, they're actually number 1 since December 1st. So a lot of conference play in there. We use KenPom for our rankings. They're just more accurate than stuff like the AP. So that's where the rankings come from. Texas Tech is 19th. Overall, Houston's only loss is to Tennessee on a neutral court, which is surprising enough. That Tennessee team has faltered a lot. And then they have pretty good wins over Arkansas and Texas Tech already as top 25 wins. Also beat Baylor, Auburn. They already have 2 road wins. Strength of schedule is only 59th for Houston, but still a quality body of work. Texas Tech is 15-4. The only loss outside the top 20 for them was Arkansas, who's 21. Otherwise, we're talking Illinois, Purdue, Houston. The only one that was by double digits was Purdue on a neutral court. This team has wins over number 3 Duke, number 14 BYU, also knocked off Baylor, LSU. Texas Tech is 5th in strength of schedule. They've had a very, very good body of work this year. It's just the head-to-head kind of works against them in this situation. As far as height and rebounding goes, both teams are very aggressive on the glass. Houston does have a pretty significant size advantage. A lot of teams do against Texas Tech. They're 307th in height. As far as shooting goes, Houston's better shooting than a lot of seasons. They're shooting more threes, too. They're 134th. Kingston Flemings has been an awesome player for them, the young freshman. He's at 38.2%. Sharp's not far ahead of him. And even Chris Senac, another new player, he's at 38.5. So you have decent perimeter shooting, but like most Houston teams, they're going to play inside out. They'll play through their post. Tugler's not the most efficient post player, but still pretty good down there. And they attack the glass so effectively. That's always going to be a path for them to win. Now, Texas Tech is 29th in total defense. They're a little better on the perimeter, but JT Toppin is still a good rim protector. If he gets fouled or he fouls early, then you have to worry about some efficiency stuff because maybe sometimes that trails when he's in foul trouble. They just can't have him off the floor. This team has no bench. So you do see that happen sometimes, and Houston will play aggressively, so that's a worry. But overall, I've been very impressed with this Texas Tech defense. They played a little better than expectation. And shooting-wise, this is a good shooting team. They're 12th in three-point percent. They shoot 1,000,000 threes, to top 50 in rate stats. Anderson's at 45% from 3. Atwell's at 43%. They play similarly to Houston. They use JT Toppin a ton inside. He had an awesome game in their first matchup. Toppin finished with 18 points. He was 9 of 12 from inside the arc. He went 0 of 2 on three-pointers for what it's worth. Probably not much. But then when he's double, he's going to kick to the perimeter, and then that's how you get Atwell and Anderson and these guys getting good looks. Even with Houston's fourth-ranked defense, and Tugler's an elite rim protector. He's the best defender in the conference. He's one of the best in the country. And even like Chris Senack has been good too. You're still going to get some pretty good, pretty good looks with what Toppin is going to do and what he's going to draw inside for this team. On the periphery, Houston's top 10 in turnovers forced and generated. They're committed and forced. They don't commit any turnovers. They generate a ton of them. Texas Tech rarely turns it over, so that's at least nice, but they don't really cause any turnovers themselves. Slight margin advantage for Houston. They do find themselves in foul trouble more often than Texas Tech, and neither of these teams play a bench. So potentially the foul issue could favor Texas Tech. Kind of goes both ways. Houston's very slow. Texas Tech is 188th in tempo. That's the biggest concern with stuff on the total, especially if you like an over, which our model does show some value there. We have the score 71.3 to 71.4. I can't get there on the over with the pacing problems. I also don't know if I can get there on Texas Tech. We technically have this game with Texas Tech favored by 1/10 of a point, basically dead even on a pick'em. So is 1 point in value against the spread enough to really place hard-earned money on? I don't think so. This is more of a game I think you just sit back, watch, and enjoy and get some data points. If you need to play something, it would be either over or Texas Tech for me, but that not something we're likely to do, just one we probably end up watching and enjoying. Illinois takes on Purdue, 5.5-point spread in favor of the Boilermakers, a 152 total. Kylan Boswell's out for Illinois. He injured his hand in practice. So that's how you see the line ballooning up to 5.5. We actually had this basically at 3.5 before, so suggesting Boswell's worth about 2 points. I get that. Illinois is 16-3. They're the 8th ranked team in the country. Their losses, awesome losses, if you want to call them that. Alabama, UConn, Nebraska. This team has solid wins over Texas Tech, Tennessee, and Iowa. They have 3 road wins. They're 27th in strength of schedule. They've been hurt for a lot of the year. They will be again in this game. I mean, there's not many holes to poke in Illinois resume-wise. Purdue, it's kind of the same thing. The only holes you're really poking are what happened in the loss to Iowa State where they got blown out by nearly 30 points and what happened on the road at UCLA. Some of that's excused away. Okay, you got to go to LA on the West Coast. It's not an easy place to play. But Donovan Dent had his best game. He outplayed Braden Smith. It's just at least a mild concern. Top 25 wins over Bama, Texas Tech, Iowa. It's a good team, good body of work. Purdue's 9th in strength of schedule. Man, this cold I've had for 2 weeks. It's a mess. All right, so Illinois and Purdue are both top 15 in height. They're both top 15 in rebounding. They're elite on both ends of the floor. There's no real advantages there. It's strength on strength. Illinois is a good shooting team, especially inside. They're 100th in three-point percentage, 21st in three-point rate. Their best shooters are like a Keaton Wagler at 39%. Jake Davis is at 43%. But then you actually have some spacing. Both Ivasic's are at 36.5% from three. Markovic is at 37%. So those are good floor spaces, and those are solid percentages for players that are going to be playing largely in your front court. 7-footers like Ivasic, both of them. They're going to play a lot of high-low, use a lot of pick and pops. Purdue is pretty good at defending those. Trey Kaufman-Renn is an athletic big. He can move around and potentially stop some of those pick and pop stuff. And then Clough, you can just use him at the rim. Purdue is 24th in total defense. They're much better on the perimeter. Braden Smith's very good out there. They're 186th inside. So I am a little worried about them still, especially with some of the minute problems that we've seen from Trey Kaufman-Renn lately. If he's going to be off the floor and you're going to have to use, I don't really understand what they're doing, but Illinois is going to come at you with waves in the front court. So this could be an issue. I think Illinois does have some ability to score even without Boswell. He's not their most efficient player on offense anyway. And then when Purdue has the ball, very good shooting team, top 25 in every single shooting metric. They're actually not shooting that many threes. They're 200th in three-point rate. using a ton of pick and roll stuff. Trey Kaufman-Renn is very good passing the ball through those pick and roll plays. They're going to use their front court and then kick out to open looks with Braden Smith, Fletcher Lawyer, CJ Cox. All of them are elite shooters, above 37%, and Smith's above 40%. So both teams kind of have a path to scoring here. As far as peripheral stats, I guess we should mention Illinois' defense. They're 75th on the perimeter. The Ivasic brothers are solid rim protectors, but you can still be had via 3 points, perimeter shooting. Purdue can absolutely do that and beat them in pick and roll. Illinois forced the second fewest turnovers in the country. Believe it or not, 364th in turnovers forced. So that doesn't project to be a major role. Neither team fouls, so nothing really advantage-wise on the periphery. I kind of like an over in this game at 152. The problem for me is the tempo is extremely slow. Illinois is 241st, Purdue is 292nd. With that said, the offenses are both awesome. Both teams shoot the ball extremely well. I mean, these are two top 5 offenses. And then both offenses especially has a path to scoring against a weakness for the defense. Purdue is poor inside defending. Illinois has waves of 7-footers. Illinois is not the best defending pick and roll. What's Purdue's strength in the half court? Playing that pick and roll. We'll debate this. I'm not 100% sure if I'll take it. Could be because currently we have the number pretty close to the 152, just a little bit of value towards the over. Score, we have projected 73.6 for Illinois, 79.4 for Purdue. We'll probably end up with this one. When we do already have Alabama takes on Tennessee. Alabama's at home. They're a 5-point favorite. Totals 168. First and foremost, the injury report's weird. Aiden Holloway's listed questionable. Amari Allen's listed questionable, both on Alabama. They're also expected to get Latrell Wrightsell back. He's had a semi-extended absence. And then, of course, Bediako is going to play in this game, perhaps his only game, but he is a big front court presence that Alabama has sorely missed. For Tennessee, it's just Cade Phillips. He's been out for a while. So I think Holloway and Amari Allen are going to play. If they do, this is a smash. If they don't, I still think it's something worthwhile. There is a trade-off. Like, I think Holloway's a little better than Wrightsell, but still, you have Phylon and whatever. It's still a pretty good spot for Alabama. So to get here, Tennessee, 23rd in the country. They have 6 losses, but most of these are to good teams. The only team they lost to outside the top 25 was Syracuse. Otherwise, 5 of their losses are to really good teams, most of them by single digits. They did blow a massive lead against Kentucky, which was super frustrating because I had them. But overall, I mean, Tennessee, a lot of people are going to poke holes in them. You might not want to so quickly because they also have wins over Houston. They beat Louisville. They didn't have Michael Brown, so that is what it is. But really, the schedule, 26th overall, it's kind of built by these close losses, which I don't always love, but it's still worth mentioning. A lot of people ignore. They look at just the losses and not how the loss occurred, the margin of victory or defeat. Tennessee was in most of these games. Now, Bama is 13-5. They've battled a ton of injuries this year, largely at the guard position. Basically, every guard has missed some length of time this year. Losses to Purdue, Gonzaga, Arizona, Vanderbilt, and Texas. The only one outside the top 15 is Texas. Wins over St. John's on the road, Illinois on the road, Kentucky at home. Also beat Clemson at home. Alabama has the first ranked strength of schedule. Otherwise, the toughest ranked strength of schedule in the nation. Height-wise, both these teams going to come in pretty tall. Tennessee's 17th, Bama's 29th. Rebounding-wise, Tennessee is 4th, Bama is 145th. However, Bediako at 7 feet playing in this game should be a big boost. He's 7 feet. He averaged 6 boards per game in 2022. An elite defender. I mean, he fills a big weakness for this team. He's been playing in, like the NBA farm system for a while. You'd think he got better. He's familiar with Oates in his system. I think this might be closer than the numbers indicate because of that. Offensively, Tennessee is pretty challenged. They can't shoot. They don't try to shoot. Basically trying to get it into the paint. play some high and low, use pick and rolls, and rebound aggressively, which would have been an advantage. But now with like a Bediako, and hopefully you can have Amari Allen in there, it probably isn't as much of an advantage. When they are shooting, it's basically just Jacoby Gillespie, 36%. Nate Amenez had a horrible year shooting. He's a very good defender, but can't get the ball through the basket. On defense, Amari Allen's been solid. Again, he's questionable. When Bediako was playing for Bama in that 2022 season, this team was like top 5 in defensive efficiency, especially inside. Filan's very good on the ball. I'm not sure Tennessee has a lot of success scoring. And then when Alabama is shooting, we know they're shooting a ton of threes, 3rd in the country in three-point rate. They've actually run kind of bad on some of their three-pointers. They're only 111th in the percentage there. Then they're still 30th inside. So you look at Filan, 38%. Holloway, hopefully he plays 46%. Amari Allen, 37%. Houston Millett even is at 35%. They play very fast. You're going to see them in transition, use a ton of pick and pops. Tennessee is slow. They'll try to limit transition stuff, but they're very vulnerable off the dribble. 15th in total defense. Good rim protector and Felix Akpara. He's okay. Jacoby Gillespie and Nate Ament are pretty solid defenders. But Bama, very unique style of play here. They never turn it over. Not that Tennessee's generating any this year. Tennessee, they do generate some fouls. Alabama will foul at times, but they play a really deep bench. Alabama's 8th in tempo. Tennessee's 226th. We currently make the number 85.5 to 80.4. But again, this is without Bediako in the fold. I think there's some room for this Bama number to balloon, especially if we get Aiden Holloway and Amari Allen playing, which I think they're going to, but we'll have to wait and see on that. We played in Alabama minus a 5, same number that's available now. If you're a little bit worried about some of the injuries, you can always just wait for tip-off and see who's active and then get an accurate number at that time. North Carolina takes on Virginia, 6.5-point favorite. Home team, Virginia, 151 total. We do show quite a bit of value on Virginia in this game. I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself, but currently we have the number almost 80 flat to 71. So what is the hesitation? Really, it's just the optics. The NBA player Caleb Wilson for North Carolina, it's kind of strength on strength down there. We'll get into all of it, but basically, North Carolina is 33rd in the country. They're 15-4. The main problem is they're 2-3 in their last 5 games. And those are kind of bad losses. They dropped 2 games out on the West Coast to Stanford and Cal, the 77th and 76th ranked team. Those are 2 horrible losses for a resume that was otherwise good. This team beat Kansas. They beat Kentucky, who actually was their only road win. They're going to be on the road here. It's 69th ranked strength of schedule. But man, it's tough to really go against Vsar and Caleb Wilson. Oh, that might have to be the case here. Virginia is 13th overall. They're 16-2. Their losses are also weird. They lost to Butler and Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech was a 3-0 loss, but those are teams outside the top 50. It's been hard for me to rack that in my brain and get over some of those issues. They also beat Louisville. With that said, Louisville was shorthanded. That's their only top 25 win. The only other top 50 wins they have, Texas, NC State, SMU, those are pretty solid. Most of them were relatively close. But I don't know. They're 67th in strength of schedule, only 2 spots ahead of North Carolina. On paper, it's a pretty good matchup for Virginia. North Carolina plays through their front court. They're 8th in height, 19th in rebounding, while Virginia is 18th in height, 15th in rebounding. And they're good on the defensive glass. They can stop some of the offensive boards, which is a lot of how North Carolina's offense scores. They don't shoot the ball at all. 44th in effective field goal. That's boosted by their interior. They're only 170th from 3. Their best three-point shooter, their best three-point shooter is Vsar, spacing the floor. He doesn't take a ton of threes. The guys who shoot the most threes are actually their worst shooters, Luka Bogovac and Kyan Evans. They basically just kick the ball inside of their front court, try to play through there. If they're doubled, kick it out for a bad 3 or get a board. Virginia has elite rim protection. Johan Grunlow and Ogonia Onyenso are elite rim protectors, and Testa Ritter's 6'9". They're 14th in total defense, 5th inside, 12th on the perimeter. They play with so much size. Grunlow and Onyenso are 2 of the best shot blockers in the country. It's a very tough matchup for North Carolina. And then the difference, Virginia, they're actually 32nd in three-point shooting. So yeah, a lot of their offense still does come through the front court, especially like a DeRitter. But he is also shooting 39% from three. You can pull one of the bigs out onto the perimeter with shooting like that. Malik Thomas, Chance Mallory, Sam Lewis are all above 36% from three. They use their bigs and pick and roll, a lot of high lows. You're going to see the UNC bigs on the move a lot more than normal. You can't just park them at the rim in this kind of game. And that's the only thing they do well. They're fourth in interior defense, 169th on the perimeter. A guy like Seth Trimble's really regressed. Neither team turns the ball over. Virginia does foul a lot, but they're also 103rd in bench minutes. It doesn't even matter if they foul a lot in this game. North Carolina is 327th in free throw percentage. I feel like I don't know what it is. I feel like I got to take Virginia at a 6.5, but just nervous with some of what they put on the court already, but I don't know. We'll see there. It'll probably end up on the card. Almost certainly. I'm actually going to do it right now. So there we go. Live on the stream. All right. Georgia, Texas, one that makes me nervous, but we did play a Georgia plus a 3. It might go to 3.5. I don't feel good about that. Texas is at home. The total is 169. Resume-wise, Georgia's 27th. Texas is 41st. One of the big gaps here is strength of schedule. Texas is 31st. They've just played better teams. They've lost quite a few bad games. They dropped games outside the top 85 to Arizona State and Mississippi State. However, they also beat Vanderbilt at home with that big size advantage over, beat Alabama, who is semi-shorthanded, and NC State. Georgia's 16-3. They've lost to Clemson, Florida, and Ole Miss. The Ole Miss one was in OT. But who are their best wins? Probably Arkansas or Auburn in OT. They just don't have as many opportunities so far compared to Texas. But in this game, height and rebounding, it's pretty similar. Texas has a slight advantage on the glass, but that's more of just aggressiveness. Missouri is about the same in height as this team. There's a big clash in tempo. Georgia is first overall. Texas is 182nd. And overall, Texas has some higher highs. They're a little better on offense, but they're also much worse on defense. And interestingly, Georgia has a better effective shooting percentage than Texas. So how do these teams play? Georgia basically playing as fast as they do. They live in transition. When they're in the half court, they take a lot of dribble jumpers and rely on rebounding. Their best shooters are Millender and Wilkinson, both above 37%. Texas limits transition because of their pace, but they're pretty weak off the dribble, opposing the guards on the other side. Their only good defender is Dalen Swain. He's top 50. He's the only one in the top 50. Georgia's not the best shooting team. They do rely on the glass lot, which is not a strength in this game, but they probably can shoot enough to score over this defense. Texas, meanwhile, offensively, they'll play in transition a little bit. They also live on the glass. They will shoot off the dribble, similar to Georgia, but they do use their front court a little bit more with like Vokatitis. Jordan Pope and Simeon Wilcher are their best shooters at 35%. Heidi's at 48%, but he doesn't shoot as much. Georgia is vulnerable in transition and on the glass if you can get those situations, but Surreal is a great rim protector. The guards are okay. This is a pretty neutral matchup for both of these teams. Our model has this Georgia 84.4 to Texas 86.1. So we did play Georgia plus a 3. It's not my favorite, but I do think there's some value there. Kansas State, an injury game. Darren Peterson's questionable. It's an ankle, which is a new ailment for him. Kansas State has a ton of injuries. Rapaku's out. Bashir's out. Ekegawurkra is out. Kamari McGriff is questionable. So the spread right now is 4.5, 161.5 total. If Peterson plays, this should be played. It'll go up to like a 6, I would imagine, but we don't have that information. I played it before the injury report came out, and I'm just going to hold it for now. Kansas is 17th in the country, 14-5. They had those 2 games against UCF and West Virginia in a 2-week span that were rough, and they lost both, and it was questions were being raised. Is the season ending? Are we circling the drain? They bounced back with win over Iowa State, a big win by 21 points. They also beat Tennessee and NC State. They have 2 road wins, the second most difficult schedule. Kansas is kind of peaking at the right time outside of this injury report. Kansas State, second year in a row, have not had the season they wanted. They're 10-9. They have losses to Bowling Green, Arizona State, Oklahoma State. Rest of their losses are pretty good. They don't have any real significant wins. And a lot of these defeats they took, they were by significant margins. The only one they actually kept close was Nebraska. Otherwise, lost a lot of these games by 9, 10, even more points. So I'm worried about this Kansas State team. The resume is poor. As far as Kansas goes, far more efficient with Peterson. He's a legitimate shot creator. They can use him just straight off the dribble. This team plays a very good high-low game with Badunga. They're good in pick and rolls. Melvin Council is a good facilitator. You have good shooters with Peterson at 42%, Trey White at 43%. Kansas State really struggles with like post-ups and bigs in the pick and roll, so tough matchup for them against Badunga. When they have the ball, I mean, they're going to try to play in transition and through pick and rolls. They have some pretty good shooting. Haggerty's at 36.5%. Castillo's at 39%. Nate Johnson's at 40%. But this is kind of easier said than done, scoring against Kansas. Badunga's going to protect the rim. He's the second best rim protector in the conference behind Tugler. Melvin Council, Trey White, and Darren Peterson are all solid defenders. With Peterson in, we have the score 82.6 to 75.9. A lot of advantages on the glass, height, total defense is a massive advantage for Kansas. I mean, you can just kind of go down the list. And even stuff like the effective shooting percentage that you see on the screen, it's closer now that we have a healthy Peterson. Presumably, we'll see how that shakes out. All right. Oklahoma, Missouri. This is one we played a total in. Spread is 5 points in favor of Missouri. 149.5 total. That's the number we played. First of all, pacing, it's okay. Oklahoma is 216th. Missouri is 232nd. They've been a little faster of late. So that works in your favor, first of all. Then second, both these teams much better on offense compared to defense. Oklahoma is 51st on offense, 166th on defense. Missouri 61 on offense, 94th in total defense. And both these teams seemingly have some advantages against the opposing defense. Oklahoma, offense is actually pretty diverse. Got a good shooter in Nigel Pack. Use a lot of their interior and then kick the ball out for shooting. They're a good rebounding team. Missouri is okay protecting the rim, and Anthony Robinson is a good defender. But this team is still 265th in three-point defense. Oklahoma's 157th. Perhaps some positive regression there. They are a little better inside, but you still should be able to shoot the ball over the top of Missouri. And then conversely, Missouri is actually a really good three-point shooting team. They're 67th there. Jacob Cruz and Jaden Stone are both above 42.5%. They're another team that's going to board aggressively, play high-low, use a lot of Mark Mitchell. Oklahoma's going to stop them in transition, but Oklahoma is pretty weak with their guard defense. Another spot where we should have Missouri scoring pretty effectively. Current score we have is 74.2 to 79.1 in favor of Missouri. So the over is one we played. Miami takes on Syracuse. This is our last one we're going to do today. Excuse me. If you want more games or just projections for all the games, we do project the score of every contest. So size totals are there. We also project their major games at a player level all the way down to the statistics. So how many minutes they play, points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks. It's there. The Discord's linked below if you're interested. We'll keep the promotion at that, but want to at least mention it so I don't go broke. All right. Miami, Syracuse. Miami's a 2-point road favorite, 150.5 total. Both of these teams have their warts. No major injuries. Miami's big wart is they haven't played anybody. They're 203rd in strength of schedule. Their losses are, for the most part, excusable outside of Florida State. They did lose by double digits to Florida, by 10 to BYU, by 10 to Clemson. And they've lost their last two games, including that Florida State game. But who are their best wins? They've only won against top 100 teams like Ole Miss, Pittsburgh, Wake Forest, Notre Dame. All those teams are ranked 69 or lower. They have 3 road wins, but the strength of schedule here is 203. So yeah, Miami looks great on paper. It's been against a very weak schedule. Syracuse, they're 115th in strength of schedule. So a little bit better. But this team, their losses, at least a couple of them, are not excusable. They lost to Hofstra by a point, and this team lost to Boston College in OT. Boston College might be the worst team among power conferences. With that said, this team beat Tennessee. Now, they played a large stretch of the season without Donnie Freeman. That should be noted. And among their losses, outside of Iowa State, every loss they had came by 11 points or less. They kept it close in most of these games. So that's at least worth mentioning. Miami, overall as a team, going to play kind of fast. They're 93rd, certainly faster than Syracuse. They're also the taller team, not by that much, though. So this effective height measure obviously uses minutes played. Donnie Freeman's back. He is a 6'9", 4, sometimes use him at 3, so they'll play the wing a lot. He gives them height, and he helps their rebounding. That is an advantage for Miami. They're 14th. Syracuse is 178. Donnie Freeman will help a little bit, but that's still probably an advantage for Miami. On offense, with their speed, they're going to play in transition. Syracuse, they limit that. In the half court, Miami is going to use a lot of pick and roll with Trey Donaldson and Malik Renault. They'll kick out for some threes on those. Sheldon Henderson's at 39% from 3. But you have pretty good defenders on the inside with Donnie Freeman and William Kyle. It's not going to be easy scoring on the front court of Syracuse. And then, yeah, Miami has a couple shooters that are decent. This team is still 209th in three-point percent. It's not a strength. And Syracuse, they're still decent at defending out there too. So potential advantage Syracuse. I think they have some chances to stop Miami's offense, at least in some areas of the floor. Syracuse, they're going to score a lot off the dribble with their guards. They also use Donnie Freeman a ton in post-ups. That's going to meet the resistance of Malik Renault and Ernest Uday. Definitely not easy. But when they do kick out for shooters, Tyler Betsy, 41%, Nate Kings at 35%. They're decent shooters. And then, of course, you have like J.J. Starling, who's a veteran on this team. Pretty good historical shooting percentage. Miami's defense is weak from 3. So that is a potential area of success for Syracuse. It's not been a real strength for them so far this year. And they don't shoot a ton of threes either. They're at 242nd in three-point rate, which is a bit surprising. But overall, this team does have some pads against Miami's defense, which, despite coming in ahead in total defensive efficiency, does have some weaknesses. As far as the periphery, both teams do force a lot of turnovers. Foul-wise is about the same for margin. And again, the strength of schedule gap here is wide. So currently we have this Miami 75.4, Syracuse 74.1. So just a little bit of an edge there. Quick reading of some other ones. Played Mercer as a dog on the money line. Played the over in Bellarmine, North Florida. The over in Duquesne, Loyola Chicago. And played UT Rio Grande against Houston Christian, otherwise known as Houston Baptist. But that'll do it for us today. Hope you guys enjoy the awesome Saturday slate. It's going to be a fun one. We'll be back for some Sunday stuff. Until then, good luck, everyone. We will see you next time.